They shut me out of family reunions for 15 years, but when they showed up at my mansion, I watched the color drain from their faces. My name is Lauren, and at 37, I never expected to hear that doorbell ring again. Standing in my $18 million Beverly Hills mansion, successful CEO of a cybersecurity empire I built from nothing, I froze. 15 years of family exclusion had left scars that success could not heal. Through the security camera, I saw them all waiting outside, their faces a mixture of awe and desperation. The family that once threw me away had come crawling back. Tell me where you're watching from and hit that like and subscribe button before we dive into how I watched the color drain from their faces when they realized what was coming. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood outside Denver, my childhood should have been ordinary. My father, Robert, worked as a civil engineer at a respected firm, bringing home a comfortable salary. My mother, Patricia, taught 4th grade at the local elementary school, beloved by her students and the community. From the outside, we appeared to be the perfect American family, living in a 5-bedroom ranch house with a manicured lawn and a golden retriever named Scout. But appearances can be deceiving. I was the youngest of 3 children. My brother Nathan was 7 years older, the golden boy who excelled at everything he touched. Basketball scholarships, straight A's, and a charming personality that made everyone gravitate toward him. My sister Amanda, 5 years my senior, was the beauty of the family with her perfect auburn hair and dazzling smile. She was a talented violinist and valedictorian of her high school class. And then there was me, the afterthought. From my earliest memories, I felt the difference in how I was treated. While my siblings received praise and attention for their achievements, mine were met with indifference or criticism. When I brought home straight A's, my mother would merely nod and say, "That's what we expect." When Nathan or Amanda brought home the same grades, there would be celebrations and special dinners. "Why can't you be more like your sister?" my mother would ask when I struggled with violin lessons. "Amanda was playing Bach at your age." My father was no better. He attended every single one of Nathan's basketball games, cheering from the stands and boasting to his colleagues about his son's athletic prowess. But when I qualified for the National Spelling Bee in 6th grade, he claimed he was too busy with work to attend. "Spelling isn't really a spectator sport, Lauren," he said dismissively. "Besides, I have an important client meeting that day." I later discovered he had rescheduled that important meeting to watch Nathan's scrimmage game. My 11th birthday was the clearest example of where I stood in the family hierarchy. Mom had promised a pool party at our house with friends from school. I had been looking forward to it for weeks, even helping to address the invitations by hand. The morning of my birthday, I woke up early, excited for the celebration. "Lauren, there's been a change of plans," my mother announced over breakfast. "Nathan has a championship game today, and we all need to be there to support him. We'll have to reschedule your party." My heart sank as I realized what was happening. "But Mom, my friends are coming in 3 hours. We can't cancel now." "Don't be selfish," my father interjected. "This is a big day for your brother. Family comes first." Family comes first. That phrase would haunt me for years to come, especially when I realized it never seemed to apply when I was the one who needed support. The party was hastily cancelled. I called each friend while fighting back tears, explaining that we would have to celebrate another time. Then I was dragged to Nathan's basketball game where I sat in the bleachers for 4 hours, forgotten as my parents cheered and my sister socialized with her friends who had also come to watch. No one sang happy birthday that day. No one mentioned it at all. Amanda was perhaps the cruelest. As a teenager when I was still in middle school, she found ways to torment me psychologically. She would invite friends over and then exclude me from their activities, locking me out of rooms or speaking in whispers that stopped the moment I entered. She borrowed my things without asking and returned them damaged, if at all. When I complained to our parents, she would put on an innocent face. "Lauren's just being dramatic again," she would say, and they would believe her. Nathan wasn't actively mean, just indifferent. As the big brother, he could have protected me from Amanda's bullying, but he chose to stay out of it. He lived in his own world of sports and popularity, too busy to notice the quiet suffering of his little sister. The only person who showed me genuine love was my grandmother, Grace, my mother's mother. Grandma Grace lived 2 hours away in Colorado Springs and visited once a month. During those visits, I felt seen for the first time. "You have a special light, Lauren," she would tell me as we baked chocolate chip cookies together in the kitchen. One day, The world will see what I see in you. She brought me books because she noticed how much I loved to read, unlike my parents who viewed my reading habit as antisocial. She attended my science fairs and school performances, sitting in the front row and beaming with pride. With Grandma Grace, I didn't have to compete for attention or love. It was freely given. In school, I excelled academically. My teachers praised my intelligence and creativity. But at home, these accomplishments were minimized. Book smarts will only get you so far in life, my father would say when I showed him my report card. You need to develop people skills like your sister if you want to succeed. I tried to join clubs and activities to win their approval. I signed up for debate team like Amanda, but when I advanced to state finals, my parents were too busy to attend. I tried out for soccer, hoping my father might show the same enthusiasm he did for Nathan's sports. But when I made varsity as a freshman, he merely commented that girls' sports weren't as competitive as boys. By the time I reached high school, I had resigned myself to being invisible in my own family. I focused on my studies, knowing that education was my ticket to freedom. I worked part-time at the local bookstore, saving every dollar for college. I applied for scholarships in secret, determined to forge my own path. When acceptance letters came from top universities, including MIT and Stanford, my parents seemed surprised, as if they had never considered that I might be capable of such achievements. Their reaction was tepid at best. "Those schools are very expensive," was my father's first comment, "and very far from home." I detected a note of relief in his voice at the thought of my leaving. It confirmed what I had always suspected: I was an obligation, not a beloved daughter. My heart broke a little more that day, but it also strengthened my resolve to build a life where I would be valued. Little did I know then that the worst betrayal was yet to come. The pivotal moment that shattered any remaining illusions about my family came when I was 22. I had graduated from MIT with honors, earning a computer science degree with a specialization in artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. I had secured a position at a promising tech startup in Silicon Valley, my first step toward true independence. I was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, I could finally earn my family's respect through my achievements. Then came the call that Grandma Grace had passed away unexpectedly from a stroke. I was devastated. The one person who had made me feel loved and valued was gone. I flew back to Denver immediately for the funeral, my heart heavy with grief. The funeral was a somber affair, with relatives I barely knew offering condolences and sharing memories of my grandmother. Throughout the service, I sat alone in the front row while my parents, Nathan, and Amanda huddled together, presenting a united front of family grief. No one thought to check if I was okay, despite knowing how close I had been to Grandma Grace. After the service, the family gathered at my parents' house. The reading of the will was scheduled for that afternoon. I sat quietly in the corner of the living room, leafing through a photo album of Grandma Grace, trying to process my loss. When the lawyer arrived, everyone gathered in the dining room. As he read through the will, most items and assets were distributed as expected. Grandma Grace's house went to my mother, her car to Nathan, and her jewelry collection to Amanda. Then came the surprise. To my beloved granddaughter Lauren, the lawyer read, "I leave my grandmother's sapphire ring and the sum of $8,000. You were always special to me, and I know you will make me proud." The room fell silent. Then my mother let out a scoff. $8,000 and her old ring. That's it. I was stunned by her reaction. I hadn't expected anything and was deeply touched by Grandma Grace's gesture. The sapphire ring was a family heirloom that had belonged to my great-great-grandmother. It wasn't the monetary value that mattered to me, but the sentiment behind it. My father's face had turned an alarming shade of red. "This is outrageous," he sputtered. "Grace always did favor Lauren for some reason." "For some reason?" I echoed, finding my voice. "Maybe because she was the only one who ever showed me any kindness in this family." That's when everything exploded. Years of resentment and secrets came pouring out. "You want to talk about kindness?" my father shouted. "We took you in when no one else would. We gave you a home education, opportunities most kids could only dream of. And this is the gratitude we get." Confusion washed over me. "Took me in? What are you talking about?" My mother shot my father a warning look, but it was too late. The damage was done. "You're not even our daughter," he spat out. "You were 3 years old when we adopted you after your mother died. Lisa was Patricia's college roommate. Had you out of wedlock, then got herself killed in a car accident. No father in the picture, no other family willing to take you. So we did, out of the goodness of our hearts. The room spun around me. Adopted. This couldn't be real. I looked at my mother, silently pleading for her to deny it. Instead, she sighed heavily. We were going to tell you when you were older, but then it never seemed like the right time. 22 years, and it had never been the right time to tell me the truth about my own identity. All those years of feeling like I didn't belong, like I was different somehow, suddenly made terrible sense. So I've been living a lie my entire life? I whispered. Does everyone know except me? Most of the extended family knows, Amanda said with a shrug. It wasn't exactly a secret. We just didn't talk about it. Not a secret to anyone except me, the person whose life it was. I felt sick to my stomach. Why did Grandma Grace leave the ring to Lauren anyway? Nathan asked the lawyer. It should stay with blood family. Blood family. Those words cut through me like a knife. Mrs. Grace specifically mentioned that Lauren should have the ring because, in her words, true family is about love, not blood, the lawyer replied uncomfortably. That set my father off again. That old woman always did try to undermine our parenting, filling Lauren's head with nonsense, making her think she was special when we were trying to raise her to be realistic about her place in the world. My place? I asked, my voice rising. And what exactly is my place in this family? You should be grateful we took you in at all, Amanda interjected. Do you know how many orphans end up in the system? You had privileges most of them could only dream of. I looked at my sister, seeing her clearly for the first time. Privileges? Like being reminded constantly that I wasn't as good as you or Nathan. Like having my birthdays forgotten and my achievements ignored? Those kinds of privileges. See, this is exactly why we never told you, my mother said. We knew you would react emotionally instead of rationally. Finding out my entire life has been a lie seems like a reasonable thing to be emotional about, I retorted. My father stood up, towering over the table. That's enough. I won't have you speaking to your mother that way under my roof. If you can't show some gratitude for everything we've done for you, then perhaps you should leave. I looked around the table at the faces of the people I had called family for 22 years. None of them came to my defense. Not even Nathan, who had always been the least antagonistic toward me. In that moment, I made my decision. Fine, I said quietly, gathering my purse. I'll go. But first, I want to know one thing. Was anything real? Did you ever love me at all, or was I just a charity case you regretted taking on? The silence that followed was all the answer I needed. I walked out of that house and never looked back. The exclusion from family life became official after that day. I wasn't invited to Thanksgiving that year, or Christmas, or any family gathering that followed. I saw photos on social media of family reunions, holiday celebrations, and milestone events, all without me. Amanda would occasionally post pictures with captions like complete family gathering, or so blessed to have everyone I love in one place, pointed reminders that I wasn't considered part of everyone. With the $8,000 from Grandma Grace and her sapphire ring as my only inheritance, I arrived in San Francisco determined to forge a new beginning. The money wouldn't last long in one of America's most expensive cities, so I had to be strategic. I found a tiny apartment in the Mission District, sharing with 2 other young women I found through Craigslist. My portion of the rent consumed nearly half of my savings immediately. Rachel was a nurse working night shifts, and Zoe was a graduate student in psychology. Both were too busy with their own lives to pry into mine, which suited me perfectly. The apartment was cramped, with just enough space for a twin bed and a small desk in my room. The kitchen was barely functional, and we shared one bathroom between the 3 of us. It was a far cry from the comfortable suburban home I had grown up in, but it was mine, and there was freedom in that. I secured an entry-level position as a cybersecurity analyst at a mid-sized tech company. The pay was minimal, barely covering my expenses, but it was a foot in the door of the industry. My days consisted of monitoring network traffic, identifying potential threats, and documenting security incidents. It was challenging work that utilized my education, but I knew I was capable of so much more. Each night after my shift ended, I would return to my tiny room and spend hours developing my own security algorithms and studying emerging cyber threats. I enrolled in online courses, participated in hacking competitions, and built small projects to enhance my portfolio. Sleep became a luxury I could rarely afford, but every hour of work was an investment in my future. To save money, I lived on instant ramen and peanut butter sandwiches. I cut my own hair, shopped at thrift stores for clothes, and walked miles to avoid paying for public transportation when the weather permitted. Every dollar saved was a dollar that could keep me independent from the family that had rejected me. 8 months into my self-imposed exile, I attended a cybersecurity conference in downtown San Francisco. The keynote speaker was Dr. Margaret Thompson, a renowned expert in AI-driven security systems from Stanford. I sat in the back row, absorbing every word of her presentation, taking detailed notes on concepts I wanted to research further. When the formal presentation ended and the crowd began to disperse, I gathered my courage and approached her with a specific question about machine learning applications in threat detection. Dr. Thompson looked surprised by the technical depth of my question. "That's a very sophisticated observation," she said. "Most people wouldn't have caught that nuance. Are you working in the field?" I explained my background and current situation, carefully omitting the personal details about my family. Something about Dr. Thompson's kind eyes and attentive listening made me feel seen in a way I hadn't experienced since Grandma Grace. "You have an exceptional mind for this work," she said after our conversation. "I'm organizing a hackathon next month focused on AI security solutions. You should participate." That hackathon changed the trajectory of my career. Working with a team of strangers, I helped develop a revolutionary approach to detecting sophisticated cyber attacks using behavioral analysis patterns. Our solution won first place and, more importantly, caught the attention of several venture capitalists in the audience. Dr. Thompson became my unofficial mentor, introducing me to key players in the Silicon Valley ecosystem and recommending resources to further my education. "You see patterns others miss because you think differently," she told me after I shared some of my innovative security concepts. "That's your superpower." Under her guidance, I began developing Secure Shield, a comprehensive cybersecurity platform that used artificial intelligence to predict and prevent cyber attacks before they occurred. The concept was revolutionary, but turning it into a viable product would require resources I didn't have. "You should consider seeking venture capital funding," Dr. Thompson suggested. "This technology could transform how companies approach cybersecurity." The world of venture capital was completely foreign to me. I spent weeks researching, preparing a business plan, and practicing my pitch. Dr. Thompson introduced me to some of her contacts, but the initial responses were lukewarm. "The concept is interesting, but you have no track record," one investor told me. "Come back when you have a working prototype and some industry experience." Rejection after rejection piled up. 32 investors turned me down, each dismissal echoing the rejections I had faced from my family. But unlike then, I refused to accept that I wasn't good enough. To sustain myself financially while pursuing my vision, I took a second job as a barista at a popular tech cafe near the financial district. The irony wasn't lost on me that I was serving lattes to successful entrepreneurs whose ranks I was desperate to join. The early morning shifts were exhausting after full days at my cybersecurity job, but they provided additional income and, unexpectedly, networking opportunities. One morning, a customer named Kevin left a generous tip after we had a brief conversation about data privacy concerns. He returned several times over the following weeks, asking thoughtful questions about my background and ideas. After several such conversations, he revealed that he was a tech investor specializing in cybersecurity startups. "I've been evaluating you," he admitted with a smile. "Seeing if you really know your stuff or if you're just another person with big ideas and no substance. You're the real deal. Let me see your business plan." 3 weeks later, I received an investment of $500,000 to develop a prototype of Secure Shield. It was a fraction of what established startups typically received, but it was enough to quit my day job and focus entirely on building my product. I kept the barista gig on weekends, both for extra income and to stay grounded. The development process was grueling. I rented a small office space in Soma and worked 18-hour days, 7 days a week. There were technical challenges I hadn't anticipated, requiring me to learn new programming languages and security protocols on the fly. There were moments of doubt when the code wouldn't compile or when a security test revealed fatal flaws in my logic. During those dark moments, I would hold Grandma Grace's sapphire ring and remember her words, "You have a special light, Lauren." The loneliness was perhaps the most difficult aspect. While I had professional relationships like Dr. Thompson and my investor Kevin, I had no close friends, no one to celebrate small victories with or provide comfort during setbacks. I had built walls around myself after the betrayal by my family, afraid to let anyone close enough to hurt me again. But each morning, I would return to my code, driven by determination that grew stronger with each obstacle overcome. After 3 years of relentless work, Secure Shield launched to widespread acclaim. Fortune 500 companies lined up to license our technology, and within 18 months, we had grown from my tiny office to a 200-employee company headquartered in a gleaming building in Palo Alto. TechCrunch called it the future of cybersecurity, and I found myself on the cover of Forbes as one of the top 30 under 30 entrepreneurs to watch. When Secure Shield went public, the IPO shattered expectations, making me a billionaire at 35. I used my newfound wealth to purchase a stunning $18 million mansion in Beverly Hills, complete with infinity pool, wine cellar, and panoramic views of the city. I also established the Grace Foundation, dedicated to supporting foster children and teens aging out of the system. For 15 years, I had heard nothing from my adoptive family. Not a single birthday card, graduation congratulations, or acknowledgement of my success. Their silence had been both painful and liberating, allowing me to build a life entirely free from their toxic influence. Then, on a quiet Sunday morning as I enjoyed coffee on my terrace, my security system chimed. Through the camera, I saw them, Robert and Patricia, now in their 70s, looking aged and weary. Nathan, his once athletic build softened by middle age, standing awkwardly beside them. Amanda, still perfectly groomed but with lines of stress around her eyes, holding the hands of 2 children I'd never met. My first instinct was to ignore them, to let them wait at the gate until they gave up and left. But curiosity won out. After 15 years of silence, what could possibly have brought them here? With trembling hands, I pressed the intercom button. "Can I help you?" "Lauren, it's Mom and Dad," Patricia's voice crackled through the speaker. "And Nathan and Amanda. We were hoping we could talk to you." I should have said no. I should have told them to leave and never come back. But some deeply buried part of me, that little girl who had always longed for their approval, made me press the button to open the gate. 20 minutes later, they sat in my living room, looking overwhelmed by the luxury surrounding them. The Italian leather furniture, original artwork, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city served as silent testimony to everything I had achieved without them. "This is quite a home," Nathan said, whistling softly. "We've been following your career," Robert added. "Reading about your success. We're all very proud." "Now you're proud," I said quietly. "Not when I graduated with honors. Not when I started my company. Only now, when I have a mansion and a billion-dollar business." The uncomfortable silence that followed was broken when Patricia finally spoke. "Lauren, we didn't just come to reconnect. We also came because we could use your help. Financial help." And there it was, the real reason for their sudden appearance in my life. As I looked at these people who had cast me out when I had nothing and returned now that I had everything, I felt a strange sense of completion. For years, I had fantasized about this moment. Now that it was here, I knew exactly what I had to say. "Let me be very clear," I began, standing and walking to the window. "You want to talk about family now?"